You are poor because you are playing by rules that were written to keep you exactly where you are. Think about that for 1 second. The person sitting next to you at work. Less educated, less disciplined, less everything. And yet somehow they are driving the car you dream about, living in the place you saved screenshots of, moving through life like the game is easy. That is not luck. That is not connections. That is not talent. That is because they understood something that nobody ever taught you, something that schools were specifically designed to hide from you, something that the people profiting from your labor need you to never discover. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as designed, just not for you. He was tortured, stripped of everything, his career destroyed, his reputation buried. Most men in that position collapse. They beg. They explain themselves. They apologize for existing. Niccolo Machiavelli did the opposite. From inside that darkness, he looked at the world without mercy and without illusion. And he wrote the truth that rulers had kept hidden from common people for centuries. Not how the world should work, how it actually works. The rules underneath the rules. This is not cheap motivation. This is not a feel-good lecture about mindset. This is the blueprint that the people controlling the money do not want you to see. Watch until the end, because what you are about to hear will not comfort you. It will wake you up. Drop this in the comments right now. I stop playing their game. I write my own rules. Let us begin. 1. You have been paid to run on a treadmill your whole life. Let me say something that is going to sting. The hardest working person in the room is usually the poorest one. Not because the world is unfair, because they are multiplying their effort by 0. And effort times 0 equals 0. No matter how many hours you pour in, no matter how much you sacrifice, you have been taught your entire life that more effort equals more reward. That is the most expensive lie ever told to working people. Here is the truth. Machiavelli understood that most people never will. The world does not pay for your sweat. It pays for your position. And position has nothing to do with how hard you work. Think about the best doctor in your city. Brilliant, dedicated, working 70 hours a week. Now ask yourself this. What happens to their income the second they stop showing up? It stops. Completely, instantly. A lawyer billing at $500 an hour takes a week off sick. $0 come in. All that expertise, all that reputation, and the moment they are not physically present and performing, the money disappears. That is not wealth. That is a sophisticated version of the same trap the factory worker is in. The only difference is the costume. You are not selling your skills. You are selling your time. And time has one brutal biological limit: 24 hours a day. You cannot manufacture more of it. You cannot work your way past it. You hit that ceiling, and you stay there forever, no matter how much you improve. Machiavelli did not write The Prince by trading hours for money. He created something that kept generating power and influence 500 years after he died. He sold a result so valuable, so irreplaceable, that the people who needed it would pay anything to have it. Nobody asked Machiavelli how long it took him to write. Nobody cared about his process. They cared about what it did for them. That is the shift you are missing. Think about two people building a content business. Person A does everything themselves, writes every word, edits every video, manages every platform, 60 hours a week, completely exhausted, making $2,000 a month. Person B hires an editor for $300, uses AI tools to build outlines, focuses their personal energy on ideas and distribution only. 15 hours a week of real work, making $15,000 a month. Who is working harder? Person A, obviously. Who is winning? Person B, by a distance that is not even close. This is not about laziness. This is about understanding what you are actually selling. Person A is selling time and effort. Person B is selling a result, an outcome, a machine that produces value while they sleep. Here is the question Machiavelli would ask you right now. If you disappeared for 30 days, would anyone lose money? Would any business break down? Would any system stop functioning? If the answer is no, then you do not have leverage. You have a job. And a job, no matter how well it pays, is just a prison with better furniture. The architect who loses one client still has the blueprints, still has the knowledge, still has the ability to build the next project immediately. The tradesman who loses one job has nothing until they find the next one. Do you see the difference? It is not about skill level. The architect and the tradesman might be equally talented. The difference is what they are actually selling. One sells time and labor. One sells a result that can be packaged, repeated, and scaled. Now look at your own situation with that same brutal honesty. Look at where your income comes from. What percentage of it continues when you are not actively working? What percentage stops the moment you stop? If your honest answer is that everything stops when you stop, then you are not building wealth. You are running on a treadmill. Moving constantly. Exhausted constantly. Getting nowhere. The practical move is simple, but it requires you to be honest in a way most people avoid. List every way you currently make money, then ask one question about each of them. If I did this 100 times, would I become rich or just become tired 100 more times? If the answer is more tired, you need to stop immediately and redesign what you are doing. Not work harder at it. Redesign it entirely. You are not a pack mule. You are a strategist. Start acting like one. Drop this in the comments. I don't sell hours. I sell outcomes. 2. Machiavelli did not write what he loved. He wrote what rulers were desperate for. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many people do you know who are genuinely talented, genuinely skilled, genuinely putting in the work, and still completely broke? Probably more than a few. And how many people do you know who seem mediocre, who you would never describe as exceptional, who are somehow thriving financially? Probably more than you would like to admit. That gap is not injustice. That gap is not randomness. That gap is the difference between people who are doing what they are good at versus people who are solving what the market is in pain about. The world told you to follow your passion. Find your strengths. Do what you love and the money will follow. That is a beautiful idea. It is also the fastest route to going broke inside a comfortable delusion. Millions of people are dying slowly in careers they love. Talented, passionate, struggling. Because passion does not create demand. Pain does. The market does not reward excellence. The market rewards relief. Go back to 16th century Italy. Machiavelli was not sitting in a studio writing what interested him. He was not expressing himself or building his personal brand. He looked at the most powerful men in Europe, and he saw exactly what they were terrified of. Being overthrown, being betrayed, being outmaneuvered by someone who understood the game better than they did. And he did not write a beautiful book. He wrote a survival manual for people who would pay anything to keep their throne. He was not selling knowledge. He was pulling the knife out of their back. That is why they paid attention. That is why the prince survived 5 centuries. Not because it was elegant, because it was necessary. That is the standard you need to hold yourself to. Research in behavioral psychology has confirmed what Machiavelli saw without any lab or study. People do not take action because they want something better. They take action because they cannot tolerate the current pain anymore. The threshold for action is not desire. It is desperation. The market operates on exactly that logic. Nobody buys a solution to a problem they do not feel. Nobody pays premium prices for something that is merely nice to have. The highest paid people in any industry are not the most talented. They are the ones solving the most acute, the most urgent, the most unbearable pain. Think about what the wealthiest people on Wall Street actually spend money on. Not on things that are beautiful or impressive. They spend on absolute security so they never end up in a courtroom. They spend on time recovery so they can get 1 extra hour of sleep. They spend on competitive intelligence so they can destroy whoever is trying to take their position. They do not need your kindness. They do not need your passion project. They need you to remove the problem that is bleeding them. So ask yourself right now, in your market, in your industry, in your circle of potential clients, what is the wound that nobody wants to talk about, but everyone is suffering from? What is the problem that is so dirty, so uncomfortable, so unglamorous, that most people in your space refuse to touch it? Because here is what Machiavelli understood about the game of value. The most avoided problem is almost always the most profitable one. The messiest work is almost always the highest paid. Not because people love paying for mess, because they have no other choice. The person who solves the problem nobody else will solve has no competition, no price ceiling, no negotiation from a position of weakness. That is not a coincidence. That is positioning. Look at your current offer, your current skills, your current work through this lens. Are you doing what you are good at? Or are you solving what someone is desperate about? Those are two completely different games, and only one of them leads to real financial power. Here is the exercise. Right now, in whatever space you operate in, find the 3 problems that exist that nobody wants to touch because they are too difficult, too unglamorous, or require skills that are uncomfortable to develop. Those 3 problems are your map. The question Machiavelli would ask is not what are you capable of. The question is who is bleeding right now and what would they pay to stop? If you disappeared today, would anyone lose money or run into a crisis? If the honest answer is no, then you are not positioned as a solution to pain. You are positioned as a nice option when things are going well. Nice options get cut when budgets tighten. Pain relief is the last thing anyone stops paying for. Drop this in the comments. I find the pain. I name the price. 3. The wealthy do not work more. They know more, sooner. You and Warren Buffett both have access to financial reports. The same numbers, the same data, the same publicly available information. So why does he keep winning and most people keep losing? It is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not some secret genius that you were born without. It is because he reads earlier, understands deeper, and moves before the crowd realizes what is happening. That is information asymmetry. And it is the most dangerous form of leverage that exists. Not physical effort, not talent, not connections. The gap between what you know and what the market has not figured out yet. That gap is where fortunes are made. Machiavelli wrote about this without calling it by name, but it runs through every rule he ever taught. Rule 18 from his philosophy is not subtle about it. The person who controls the flow of information controls the game itself. Not the most talented player, not the hardest working one, the one who knows what others do not know yet. The Medici family, the banking dynasty that dominated Renaissance Florence, did not get rich through superior effort. They got rich because they had information networks across Europe before communication was even understood as a strategic asset. They knew when a kingdom was about to collapse before the king did. They knew when to extend credit and when to call it back. They knew what was coming because they had built invisible channels of intelligence. That knowledge was not available to anyone who showed up and worked hard. It was available to those who had deliberately positioned themselves inside the information flow. Now bring that into the world you are living in today. Every market has people who know and people who do not know. Every industry has information that insiders possess that outsiders are completely blind to. Every opportunity that created serious wealth, when you trace it back, came from someone who understood something before the crowd caught up. Crypto in 2010 was not discovered by geniuses. It was discovered by people who were reading the right things 3 to 5 years before the mainstream conversation even began. The people who made fortunes were not smarter than you. They were earlier than you. That is it. That is the entire story. The person who saw real estate shifting before the headlines announced it. The person who understood that remote work was becoming permanent before the world was forced into it. The person who recognized a skill gap before every freelancer flooded that space. They did not work harder. They knew sooner. Here is where this gets personal and most people miss it entirely. You already have this. Right now, in your current field, in your current industry, in your day-to-day work, there are things you understand that 90% of the people around you do not see yet. The electrician knows things about building infrastructure that the building owner has no concept of. The marketing professional sees algorithm patterns that the business owner is completely blind to. The nurse in a hospital understands patient care dynamics that administrators have never experienced firsthand. That is not just expertise. That is leverage. That is a gap between what you know and what someone else desperately needs to know before it costs them. The question is not whether you have valuable information. The question is whether you are treating it like the weapon it is, or letting it sit unused inside your head while you trade your hours for a fixed salary. Machiavelli was unambiguous about this. He never revealed everything. Not to allies, not to adversaries. He controlled who knew what and precisely when they knew it. The mystery maintained power. The selective disclosure created dependency. And dependency is the foundation of all real influence. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote that knowledge without application is merely entertainment. Machiavelli went further. He understood that knowledge without timing is worthless. The same information at the wrong moment does nothing. At the right moment, it changes everything. The practical application is not complicated, but it requires you to think differently about what you already carry. Identify 3 things you understand about your industry or your craft that most outsiders have no visibility into. Things that if a decision maker knew them early, they would have a significant advantage over their competitors. Those 3 things are the beginning of a real position. The next question is, who would pay to have that information before their competition does? Who is in a race right now where knowing this would change the outcome? That is where you start. Not with building new skills, not with grinding harder, with recognizing the value of what you already know and placing it in front of the person who needs it most urgently. The person who knows first always wins. That has been true since Florence in the 1400s. It is true right now in whatever market you are operating in. Stop giving your knowledge away for free. Stop treating your hard-won understanding as something everyone has access to. it is not. And the day you start treating it like the asset it is the day the game changes for you. Drop this in the comments. I know early. I move first. I win. 4. Stop being proud of your calluses. Be proud of the hammer you are holding. In Norse mythology, Thor is a god, physically superior to almost every being in existence, strength that defies comprehension, power that shakes mountains, and without Mjolnir, he is just a strong man who can be defeated. With it, a single strike levels entire landscapes. The hammer does not just add to his strength. It multiplies it beyond what his biology alone could ever produce. One blow from Thor holding Mjolnir carries the force of 1,000 ordinary strikes. That hammer is leverage. And the difference between Thor with and without it is the same difference between you grinding 60 hours a week and the person working 15 hours and generating 5 times your income. The effort is not the variable. The hammer is. Machiavelli understood this at the deepest level. He never romanticized the soldier who swings the most swords. He studied the commanders who controlled the siege engines, who positioned the archers, who used terrain and timing, and the strength of others to multiply their own power beyond what one person could generate alone. He wrote that a wise ruler never goes out and fights every small battle himself. Not because he is weak, because his energy is too valuable to be wasted on battles that tools and subordinates can handle. His job is to hold the hammer, not to be the hammer. And yet look at what most people do. They take pride in being the hammer. They measure their worth by how hard they swing, how long they swing, how many calluses they have earned from swinging. You are not a hammer. You are supposed to be the one holding it. Here is what happens in the real world when people get this right. 2 creators build content businesses at the same time. Creator A does everything themselves: writing, filming, editing, posting, responding, managing. They are in every part of the process because they believe that level of control equals quality. 60 hours a week. Every week. Making $2,000 a month and slowly burning out. Creator B makes a different decision early. They hire an editor for $300 a month. They use AI tools to generate outlines and research. They spend their personal time on exactly 2 things: developing the ideas and building the distribution. 15 focused hours a week, making $15,000 a month and improving because they have time to think. Same market, same platform, same content category. One of them found the hammer. One of them is still swinging their fists. This is not a story about talent. It is not even a story about money. It is a story about multiplication versus addition. When you add effort to effort, you grow linearly. More hours, slightly more output. More grind, marginally more result. You are always limited by your own biology. When you multiply your effort through leverage, the ceiling essentially disappears. 1 hour of your strategic thinking, amplified by a team, by technology, by capital, by systems that run without you, becomes something your physical effort alone could never produce. The Pareto principle is not a theory, it is a map. 20% of your activities produce 80% of your results. Right now, today, in your work. Look at it honestly. What is the 20%? The ideas, the relationships, the decisions that actually move the needle? And what is the 80%? The execution, the repetition, the maintenance work that consumes most of your time, but could be handled by something or someone else. Most people spend 80% of their life on the work that should be delegated, and 20% on the work that actually matters. Then they wonder why they are not getting ahead despite working so hard. You are not tired because you are working too much. You are tired because you are doing work that should not be yours. The practical exercise here is simple, and it will show you exactly where your leverage is being buried. This week, list every task you perform, every single one, then ask one question about each item. Does this require my specific knowledge, my specific relationships, or my specific judgment? Or could this be done by a tool, a template, or another person? Anything that falls into the second category is not your work. It is the hammer swinging itself when you should be the one holding it and pointing it at what actually matters. The fear most people have is that letting go means losing quality or control. That is the story that keeps talented people small. Machiavelli would call that ego dressed up as professionalism. Real control is deciding where the hammer lands, not being the hammer. Find one tool or one person this week who can complete what you are currently doing manually 5 times faster, at a fraction of the cost. Do not hesitate. Do not overthink. This is not an expense. It is the purchase of your own time. And time is the only resource that cannot be manufactured. A tiger does not argue with a donkey about who is carrying the heavier load. You should not be in that argument either. Drop this in the comments. I don't swing harder. I find the hammer. Find the 5. De Beers created billions. From a stone that is everywhere here is a question that will tell you everything about your financial position. How many people could do exactly what you do at exactly the same price within 48 hours? If the answer is many, you do not have a position. You have a skill. And a skill without scarcity has no power, no matter how refined it is. This is not harsh. This is the game. And not understanding it is costing you more than you realize. De Beers is one of the most successful businesses in the history of commerce. Not because diamonds are rare. They are not. The earth holds billions of tons of them. De Beers became dominant because they controlled the supply for nearly a century, creating the perception of scarcity where none naturally existed, and transforming a common mineral into the universal symbol of love and permanence. People do not buy diamonds. They buy the story of rarity. They buy the feeling of possessing something exclusive. The diamond did not change. The positioning changed everything. Now look at how you are positioning yourself. Are you presenting yourself as widely available, affordable to anyone, flexible on price, ready to serve whoever knocks? Because every one of those signals communicates one thing to the market, that you can be replaced. And replaceable things get priced like commodities. Commodities get compared on price, and when you are competing on price, you have already lost. Machiavelli understood that mystery is armor. He never revealed his full capacity to anyone. Not to allies, not to adversaries. He showed enough to create curiosity. He withheld enough to maintain power. The gap between what people knew about him and what they suspected he was capable of, that gap was the source of his influence. He wrote it plainly. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. That is not just philosophy. That is a business strategy that has worked across 5 centuries. When you reveal everything, your process, your pricing structure, your availability, your desperation for the next client, you destroy the one thing that gives you negotiating power, the perception that you cannot be easily replaced. The freelance designer who offers logo work at $50 and will turn it around by tomorrow is not running a business. They are running a race to the bottom with 10,000 identical competitors. The brand strategist who works exclusively with early-stage tech companies has a 3-month waiting list and charges $5,000 per engagement is doing the same work. Same skill base, different positioning, different scarcity, a completely different financial reality. The only variable is how they have chosen to present what they do. Here is what you need to understand about how scarcity works in practice. Scarcity is not just about limiting supply. It is about controlling the perception of what is available and who gets access to it. When you take every client who approaches you, you signal unlimited supply. When you say you are currently full but can consider them for next quarter, you signal that access to you is earned, not assumed. When you describe your service in broad general terms that could apply to anyone, you blend into the background. When you describe an extremely specific result for an extremely specific type of person, you become the only visible option for that person. The counterintuitive truth is that narrowing your focus expands your power. Most people try to appeal to everyone because they are afraid of missing out. The result is that they appeal to no one particularly strongly. They become background noise. The people who understand Machiavelli's principle of controlled perception do the opposite. They deliberately restrict who they appear to serve. They speak with such precision about a specific problem for a specific type of person that anyone matching that description immediately feels like this person was built for them. That feeling of fit, that feeling that this is not just another option but the only real solution, that is what allows premium pricing. That is what eliminates comparison shopping. Think about how you are currently presenting yourself online, in conversations, in your proposals. Are you trying to be relevant to everyone? Are you listing every service you are capable of providing? That is the behavior of someone afraid to commit. And fear reads as weakness. Weakness invites pressure on price. Strength is commitment, clarity of position. The willingness to say this is exactly who I work with, and this is exactly what I do for them. And if that is not you, I understand. That sentence, delivered without apology, does more for your positioning than any amount of marketing effort spent trying to attract the widest possible audience. Here is the practical move. Take whatever you are currently offering and ask yourself, what is the smallest, most specific group of people who would benefit most from this? And what is the most acute problem I solve for that group? Write that down in one sentence, not a paragraph. One sentence. Then rebuild everything around that sentence. Your description, your pricing, your availability, your language about your own work. When you speak to one person's exact pain with complete specificity, that person stops comparing you to anyone else, because there is no one else doing exactly what you do for exactly who they are. That is when the game changes. Drop this in the comments. I am not available to everyone. That is my power. 6. Quality does not sell itself. It never did. It never will. Machiavelli sits in a prison cell, tortured, stripped of everything, his career gone, his reputation destroyed. Most men in that position beg. They explain. They make themselves small. Machiavelli did the opposite. He wrote to the Medici as if he were the most valuable mind alive. Not with desperation, with precision. His letters did not say, "Save me." They said, "You cannot afford to lose me." He was not selling qualifications. He was selling a perception. The perception that without his understanding of power, they would be navigating their rule completely blind. That perception led to the prince. His name outlasted every person who tortured him by 5 centuries. That is what selling the story does. It does not just change how people see you, it changes what they are willing to pay. The crowd still believes quality speaks for itself. That if you build something good enough, People will eventually recognize it. That honesty and transparency will be rewarded. That is the belief system of people who will be waiting forever. In the world of real money, truth matters less than the perception of truth. A powerful story wrapped around a decent product beats a brilliant product with no story every single time. You have seen this. You know this is true. You have watched people with less skill than you outperform you financially because they understood something you were taught to distrust. Rolex does not keep better time than a $20 Casio. Not even close. But Rolex is not selling timekeeping. It is selling the feeling of belonging to a category of person who has arrived. People are not buying the object. They are buying what the object makes them feel about themselves. Tesla is not selling transportation. It is selling the identity of being on the right side of history. When Tesla hits a production problem, Musk does not apologize. He reframes it as the inevitable friction of attempting something that has never been done before. The setback becomes evidence of ambition, not evidence of failure. That is frame control. The halo effect in psychology is not subtle about this. First impressions do not just influence how people see you initially, they filter everything that comes after. Walk in looking like someone who needs the deal, and you will negotiate from weakness, regardless of your actual value. Walk in communicating that you already have more than enough, and the entire dynamic shifts without a word being spoken about price. The language shift is not complicated, but it is complete. Stop describing what you do. Start describing what changes for the person in front of you. Not I make websites. I build the digital infrastructure that makes your competition look amateur. Same work, different story, different price, different client. Rewrite one thing today, one sentence. Remove every word that describes activity. Replace it with the outcome you actually create. The story is the product. Machiavelli proved that from inside a prison cell with nothing else to offer. Drop this in the comments. I control the frame. I decide the value. 7. The richest people you admire are not showing off. Be honest with yourself for 30 seconds. What are you actually chasing when you picture your life with serious money in it? The car that makes people turn their heads. The reunion where the people who doubted you finally see what you built. The post that gets 50,000 likes from strangers you will never meet. If that is the target, what you are describing is not financial ambition. That is a wound with a price tag on it. And the brutal truth is this: the wound does not heal when you buy the car. It just gets hungrier. It demands something more expensive next time, then something more expensive after that. You are not building wealth. You are feeding an addiction that consumer culture designed specifically to keep you broke. Behavioral psychology calls this hedonic adaptation. The satisfaction from any new acquisition fades on average within 3 months. The car becomes transportation. The watch becomes jewelry. The apartment becomes where you live. And the emptiness returns, louder than before, demanding another hit. This is not an accident. It was engineered. The people selling you those objects understood your psychology before you understood it yourself. Machiavelli saw money the way a general sees soldiers. A wise ruler does not burn his army in battles that do not matter. He does not waste troops on symbolic gestures designed to impress civilians. He conserves his soldiers for campaigns that expand actual territory, actual freedom, actual power. Every dollar you spend on status that you cannot afford is a soldier killed in a meaningless battle. You are destroying your own army for applause from people who will forget your name the moment your wallet runs dry. Here is the definition of wealth that nobody teaches because it cannot be photographed. Wealth is the ability to say no. No to the job that is grinding you down. No to the client who disrespects you but pays reliably. No to the city you hate but have never left. No to the version of your life that other people designed for you. That is real power. The kind that does not require an audience. The investors and operators who understand this treat money completely differently. They do not display it. They deploy it. They treat losses as expensive lessons. They treat gains as provisions for the next move. They are not performing wealth for anyone. They are accumulating options. Here is the only question that tells you your actual financial position. How long can you say no to this world right now? 2 weeks? You are not free. You are a well-dressed asset in someone else's hands. 6 months? You have breathing room. Years? Now you have position. That number, not your income, not your possessions, is your real wealth. Stop buying applause. Start buying runway. Because the person who can say no the longest is the person who wins. Drop this in the comments. I use money to buy freedom, not applause. You came into this video as someone who was working hard and wondering why it was not enough. You are leaving it with something more valuable than motivation. You have the map. The person who was here at the start was selling time. The person here at the end sells outcomes. The person who was here at the start was doing what they were good at. The person here at the end finds where the pain is and names the price. The person who was here at the start was working without leverage. The person here at the end finds the hammer and stops swinging bare hands. The person who was here at the start was easy to replace. The person here at the end makes replacement impossible. The person who was here at the start was selling a service. The person here at the end controls the frame. The person who was here at the start was using money to buy applause. The person here at the end uses it to buy the only thing that actually matters: freedom. That is not a small shift. That is a complete change in how you see the game. Machiavelli did not survive being tortured and forgotten by hoping things would get better. He survived by seeing clearly and moving deliberately. Now it is your move. Drop this in the comments right now. I don't play their game, I own the board. If this video showed you something real, do 3 things. Like it, so it reaches the people who need it, not the people who want to be comfortable. Share it with one person you know who is working too hard for too little. And subscribe, because the next video goes deeper into the places most people are afraid to look. The summit is not crowded. See you there.